A president is supposed to guarantee and work for the protection of liberty and allow people to take care of their problems.
All right, let's talk about that, because this gets right to the heart of your view about the role, but also the limits of government. The flooding of the Mississippi has caused terrible destruction in the heartland of America. But you said the other day that the government should play no role in bailing out people who live in hurricane zones or flood zones. Let's watch.
If it's too dangerous, why dump the responsibility on the taxpayer? You know, it doesn't make economic sense, it doesn't make good moral sense, it doesn't make constitutional sense.
You talk about big government and how opposed you are to it, but you seem to have a different attitude about your own congressional district. For example, the Congress decided to send billions of dollars to victims of Hurricane Katrina. Guess how Ron Paul voted? Quote, is bailing out our people that chose to live on the coastline a proper function of the federal government, he asked, and you said no. And yet this, Paul's current district, which includes Galveston and reaches into the Brazoria County, draws a substantial amount of federal flood insurance payments for your own congressional district. This is the Houston Chronicle. Representative Ron Paul has long crusaded against a big central government, but he also represented a congressional district that's consistently among the top in Texas in its reliance on dollars from Washington. In the first 9 months of the federal government's 2006 fiscal year, it received more than $4 billion. And they report, the Wall Street Journal, 65 earmarked targeted projects, $400 million, that you have put into congressional bills for your district, which leads us to the Congressional Quarterly, the earmarked dossier of Dr. No. There isn't much that Dr. Ron Paul thinks the federal government should do. Apparently, though, earmarks for his district are okay. Yes. Paul is the sponsor of no fewer than 10 earmarks in the Water Resources Bill, all benefiting his district. The Gulf Intercoastal Waterway, $32 million. The sunken ship you want to remove from Freeport Harbor. The Bayou Navigation Channel. They talk about $8 million for shrimp fishermen. Why would you load up?
You got it completely wrong. I've never voted for an earmark in my life.
No, but you put them in the bill.
I put them in because I represent people who are asking for some of their money back. But it doesn't cut any spending to vote against the earmark. And the Congress has a responsibility to spend the money. Why leave the money in the executive branch and let them spend the money?
That's like saying you voted for it before you voted against it.
Nah, come on, Tim. That has nothing to do with that.
You put it in the bill and get the headlines.
No, I make the request. They're not in the bill.
Then you know it's going to pass Congress, and so you don't refuse the money.
Well, no, of course not. It's like taking a tax credit. If you have a tax credit, I'm against the tax system, but I take all my tax credits.
But if you
I want to get their money back for the people.
You would say no pork spending in my
that's
district.
not it. They steal our money. That's like saying that people shouldn't take Social Security money. I don't advocate that.
All right, I
try to save the system, make the system work.
Let me ask you this.
I think you have it all mixed up.
Well,
you're confused.
It's all facts.
You're confused.
This is the Wall Street Journal. You load up the bills with special projects.
No, you don't.
You do. You deny that you have.
How many of them ever got passed? But the whole point is we have a right and an obligation.
They pass, you vote against them, but you take the money.
You don't quite understand.
Okay.
They take our money from us, and the Congress has the authority to appropriate, not the executive branch. And I'm saying that I represent my people, and they have the request. It's like taking a tax credit, and I put it in. The whole process is corrupt.
All right, let me ask you that.
I vote against everything.
But
I vote against it, so I don't endorse the system.
But when it passes overwhelmingly, you take the money back home.
I don't take it. That's the system. I'm trying to change that system. To turn it around and say I'm supporting this system, I find it rather ironic and entertaining.
When you stop taking earmarks or putting earmarks in the spending bills, then I think you'll be consistent. Let me ask you about this. Let me ask this. Term limits. You ran on term limits. I think we should have term limits for our elected leaders. You've been in Congress 18 years.
But I never ran on voluntary term limits. There's a big difference.
I think faith has something to do with the character of the people who represent us. And law should have a moral fiber to it, and our leaders should. We shouldn't expect us to try to change morality. You can't teach people how to be moral. But the Constitution addresses this by saying, literally it says no theocracy, but it doesn't talk about church and state. The most important thing is the First Amendment. The Congress shall write no laws, which means Congress should never prohibit the expression of your Christian faith in a public place. Okay.